Hey listeners, last year was our 15th year of the best in food storytelling. As we head into 2025, we're kicking off a contest in collaboration with the podcast series Feast and Harmony and Sixth Man, where you have the opportunity to win a 4-night cruise for 2 on Chefs Making Waves, a food, wine, and spirits festival at sea. When you donate to HRN, you'll be entered for the chance to win a porthole cabin for 2 on Chefs Making Waves, sailing May 5th through 9th, 2025, from Miami to Cozumel, Mexico on Norwegian Gem. You'll also support another year of great food storytelling with a portion of your donation going toward disaster relief for the food and beverage communities within Western North Carolina and Southern California. This cruise is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for culinary adventurers, featuring top celebrity chefs including Jonathan Waxman, Antonio Lafaso, Robert Irvine, and many, many more. There's a myriad of experiences such as restaurant takeovers, live food and mixology demos, themed parties, and more. To enter your chance to win, please visit heritageradionetwork.org/cruise. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 or over to enter. That's heritageradionetwork.org/cruise.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Since 2009, HRN podcasts have been exploring the wide world of food, beverage, and agriculture. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Hello and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I'm your host, Darren Bresnitz. I'm so excited to be sitting down with Peter Som, whose new book, Family Style, Elegant Everyday Recipes, is out now. We talk about his early career in fashion, growing up in the kitchen, cooking with his grandma and mother, and how their hosting of dinner parties led to his love of cooking of food while he was in the fashion business. And then it's a deep dive into the archives when the band Mahogany swung into the shipping containers to play some of their electronic dream pop. They shared a few tracks from their new album then and talked about their upcoming tour, which happened in another lifetime ago. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Snacky Tunes here on HRN.
Towers flood you into darkness. Oh, they will knock out your towers, flood you into darkness. But the commutator runs, the commutator runs, the commutator runs, oh, the commutator runs. It feeds all the children, feeds all the children, it silences all the guns. A measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, and a measure for the fallen. A measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, and a measure for the fallen. A measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, and a measure for the fallen. A measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, and a measure for the fallen. measure for the lost, and a measure for the fallen, a measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, and a measure for the fallen.
Peter, congratulations on the book launch. It's beautiful. It's fun. It's going right on the shelf. How are you feeling about releasing this into the world?
Thank you so much. I feel great. It's, it's been a long, many years, especially coming from fashion where, you had 4 collections a year and you were always thinking of the next thing. But so to work on something for almost 3 years, basically, give or take, and then to have it actually appear on the shelves is, amazingly gratifying, especially because what I wrote about was so personal and, it feels really, really, really great.
Yeah, I mean, it's really apparent that you worked in fashion and styling and lifestyle before this book and, just looking through the pages and the way that everything's positioned. When did you start to realize that food was such an equal part of the curation of your life? Because there's fashion and there's art and there's decor. When did you realize that culinary was that central pillar?
I think, it was always a part of my life since I was a kid, but, and even during my runway, with the years I had my runway collection, I always cooked. And I think it ultimately became something that was so important to me, when I stopped my runway collection, which at this point was about 10 years ago. It was fashion was something I wanted to do. I wanted to be a fashion designer in quotation marks, all caps, underlined, bold, italic, everything since I was in 5th grade. And so for the collection to stop because it just wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing, I felt really lost for a year. I was really unsure of my direction. And I think when you're a kid, I would like to say I had the goal. My goal was very focused, but at a certain point they became blinders. So I really had to take the blinders off. I had to take them off to see kind of what was right in front of me the whole time. And it was cooking. And it's something that I have loved since I was a little kid, all the way through my college years into, for my whole life. And, I think that whole adage of, do what you love, holds true. I said, you know what? I love this. I think I'm pretty good at it. Let's see what happens. Sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith and hope that there is water in the swimming pool after you dive off.
Yes. Let's go back to the childhood a little bit because you spent a lot of time in the kitchen cooking with your mom, your grandma. What was your role? Because I had a similar grandmother that cooked and ran her kitchen, and I could be in there. The responsibilities were varying in what I could actually be allowed to do to make sure that it came out right.
I think there's sort of a red thread for all grandmas. I was an eager, but maybe not so technically skilled sous chef.
Sure.
So I there were times where she'd shoo me out and she would get it done, which I get. As one who throws lots of dinner parties these days, you're like, all right, everyone just get out of the kitchen. Not really. You know what I mean?
No. I get it. It's like, yes, you've dried the lettuce. Go.
Yeah, exactly. But I would do some chopping here and there. I think my biggest memory was for sure my sister and I sitting at the dining table. Her dining table, which was, covered in plastic wrap, and we would make wontons, and we would make enough to fill, an 8-seater dining table. When you kind of do those things, it's all afternoon. You freeze a bunch, you give away a bunch. And then, it was going to Chinatown with her, which was something I could definitely do, is walk with her to watch her inspect, the bok choy or the mangoes or whatever. So I was always right there by her side. We grew up in the same city, which was very lucky to have that. A lot of my cousins and stuff had moved with their families to other cities, so my sister and I were the one family that stayed in the same city. So I probably saw her once a week from the day I was born to the day I went to college.
Wow. That's such a beautiful memory, especially to have San Francisco Chinatown be the backdrop to all of it all, which is one of the most legendary places in the world, I think, of just culture and food. And I even remember the first time I went there and getting dim sum with my mom and just seeing everything that it had to offer in a culinary wise. To have a guide like your grandmother, and I assume your mom, must have been so special.
Yes. I mean, I think it's you get really tough because these old grandmas will push you aside to get what they want.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you learn how to sort of duck and swerve. And, both my mom and my grandmother, my grandmother was very discerning. It wasn't just, a lot of these vegetables are already bagged. Nope. We got to pick out the ones that are the right ones, make our own bag of, pea shoots or whatever. So, great. It was a great education.
You're talking about similar through lines between grandmas, and my grandparents lived in Montreal, and we drive from Philly, and she did seem to have the same greeting that your grandma have, which was, "Have you eaten?" Which was rhetorical, because by the time we got to her house, it was very obvious that the next thing we were going to do was eat, and eat a lot. So did you think that was a way, when your grandma would ask that, a way of her showing love, of making sure that you're taken care of?
Absolutely. I mean, I think in a lot in Chinese culture, Asian culture, I mean, a lot of my friends who are Asian, saying "I love you" was not that wasn't just a thing that was done. It felt like a very Western thing to do, to sort of be that sort of demonstrative in terms of what you said to somebody. So the love language was food. It was, "Have you eaten?" It was, it's sort of like looking at your face to see if you looked a little like skinny or fat, or your eyes looked a little red, or, whatever it was. But yeah, so, same with me. It was, probably rhetorical, because probably the next thing we were going to be doing was eating. We were a family that was obsessed with food. And I think, we had this joke that we would always talk about our next meal at our current meal, which I think a lot of families probably do, who love food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you've done the shopping, you've done the cooking, you've shown up, you're sitting around the table. What was the scene like? And you talk a little bit in the book about, the name of the book is Family Style, but the rules of eating family style and how it would work. But beyond the rules, what was the feeling? Like, what was that moment when your grandmother and your mother would gather the entire family around the table and share a meal together?
I think it's something that I even feel to this day, when friends gather around the table, or I'm around the table with my family. But as a kid, it felt like security. It felt like comfort. It felt familiar. It felt, you felt protected. You were with your crew, and you were all around the table. And even if you were sitting next to an annoying cousin, it was all fine. I think that those sort of memories really were imprinted in me at a very young age. And that's definitely how I feel when I have friends over and everyone's sitting around the table. I sort of look around sometimes and see everyone laughing, having a great time. And you're like, oh, this is what it's all about,
Yeah. You talk about two central tenets as you're a kid: food and design, which now today, when you look at restaurants and merch culture and things like that, it just seems like a no-brainer. But when you were a kid, they didn't really go hand in hand, at least not in maybe a refined set of way. I think about like the old 1960s, 70s sort of palatial type of restaurants, but nothing like the refined design culture of today. How did you come to it so early that you saw that design and food were in conversation with each other?
Well, I think, early on, I was really influenced by my parents were both architects. So, very much of the modernist Bauhaus kind of vibe, that was their style. So, I grew up in a household that appreciated design. They bought all this Knoll furniture and,
Sure.
Herman Miller furniture before it was anybody knew about it. They were just like architect nerds who, obsessed over a Bruno chair or something like that.
Right.
So I grew up around design, and I think I was pretty lucky that as a kid who wanted to get into fashion, my parents were architects. So there wasn't an expectation that I should be a doctor or a lawyer or a
Great.
scientist or an engineer or anything like that. So I really kind of got the jackpot on that. And then, I think obviously throughout my design experience, in fashion, it just has informed, how I look at the world. I mean, that's how my eye is. So for food, it's like you eat with your eyes, it has to look great. And, so it's always been, again, something imprinted in me from a very young age, that it should look nice. It doesn't have to take a long time, but things should look nice. It doesn't have to be belabored or stressed over, but you can do a little something here and there, and it'll look great.
I love it. Jumping forward a little bit, let's say post-college, college time, you brought this love of cooking with you into a world that doesn't necessarily slow down for meals if they're having a meal at all. What did you love about having this outlet pre-collapse of your fashion runway line, but just you're in there, you're in the mix, sky's the limit, future's in front of you, and then you could also cook and host meals and have that moment to yourself?
It was really, I'm an outgoing, shy person, so I think when I started my fashion line, I mean, I remember I could barely look somebody in the eye, and I remember being at my therapist's office, one day early on, I was lying there. And at this point I was going to this therapist twice a week. I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? But I sort of was staring up at the ceiling, and I said to her, you know what? I have to become famous. I can't just hide behind a curtain or whatever and just draw things. People want to know who I am, I have to explain my work. And I think I learned really how to put myself out there in the world and take up space and be present. So for me, coming home and after like a crazy day, whether we were doing fashion show preparation or lookbooks or even just a normal day, being able to come home and close the door, lock the door, either cook for myself, cook for a few friends, it's what kept me sane and kept me grounded, because it's so elemental. You're basically within an hour, 40 minutes, even half an hour, if you're lucky, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then it's gone. And there's something kind of really amazing about food that way. Clothing will last years. I mean, it is something that will be with you for a long time if you treat it right, obviously. But food is really something that is just a moment and then it's gone. And I think that moment is when I learned to sort of appreciate that moment and sort of take a breath and be like, exhale, I'm good,
I love it. All right, we're going to take a quick musical break. And when we come back, we're going to chat about your foray into writing, your road to the book, and some of the incredible music that you play during your dinner parties. Here's a song from the archives on Snacky Tunes here on HRN. Welcome back to Snacky Tunes. We're here with Peter Som, the author of Family Style. Now, I remember reading some of your articles when I was over at Refinery 29 in a different lifetime.
Oh my gosh.
Ago. And I always felt like you had the jump on starting your own website with your own articles and curation tips. I knew we were talking about a little bit before the break about making sure that you get famous to take up space in the world. Was this just an extension of that, or was this another way to get your words out with maybe hiding behind the pieces?
Yeah, I mean, I think, fashion really, and food for that matter, obviously, they fall under this, sort of moniker of lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lifestyle, under the lifestyle umbrella, really it's essentially the three needs in life: food, clothing, and shelter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just at the next level, the curation level, we're all, for those of us who are very fortunate enough to be able to make certain choices in life of what we wear, what we eat, where we live. So I think, I think my love of food was another aspect in terms of who I was that was interesting, that kind of tied a red thread around, like, living a life of a certain kind of life. So it sort of was a natural extension, actually. And I think it was for sure, it was a great way to talk about something else that was tangentially related to fashion.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of setting a nice table and being a gracious host and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it sort of was always there, as, like, it wasn't Beyonce, it was like Michelle or Kelly, which was
Sure.
Sure.
They have their own right. They have their own space. When you launched the Extra Taste, the food vertical, in 2019 on your site, did you feel it was time? It's a leap, especially to get people to read about you as your thoughts or expertise in a completely different field. Did you have the confidence, or did you just go for it?
Yeah, let me tell you, it's interesting. Even to this day, I don't even know what to call myself.
Multi-hyphenate, I believe is the word.
Yeah, exactly. I'll use that. My website to that point, after I had closed my collection down, was just a time capsule of literally that last season. It was really just sitting there. And I was talking to a few friends, and they were like, "You need to. It's time. Like, you're done with mourning. Stop. And this like sort of time capsule is not serving you." And so I think I'm somebody who's really good when I have a goal in mind. I have a project. For me, I was like, let's spend the money that I don't really have at the moment, to redo the website and really make it a reflection of who I am right now, or was at that point, which is kind of what I am right now still, which is, food, it's fashion, it's design, it's, all that kind of stuff that I love. And I think, yeah, let's just do it. So I think, again, it's sort of a combination of, when are you ever ready, right? In life, you feel right. Exactly. Even now, I just came out of the cookbook. I'm like, oh, what do I do next? Not really, but sometimes you think,
of course, that's the life of a creative.
Yeah. So for me, I thought I just have to do it and put it out there in the universe and start doing it. So yeah, you sometimes, again, you got to have faith sometimes and just dive in.
So you have the website, it's redesign is going well. When did you start to think about a book? And given your history and given you could have done I don't want to say retrospective, but you could have done design tips and lifestyle, with fashion at the center, why make this book about food and cooking?
Well, I started thinking about it probably around the same time as I launched the Extra Taste. In retrospect, was I really ready? And I can say definitively that I wasn't ready at that moment. But I felt like I wanted to make a cookbook, like a real cookbook. I didn't necessarily want it to be, you know, like half entertaining, half designy. I felt, and this is, there's definitely those books out there that are great and they're beautiful.
Sure.
But I was really so diving into cooking and recipes. And I mean, I was doing recipes every day. I was, in my kitchen every day. I mean, it was, again, talking about therapy. I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
I would get up at 7:30 in the morning. No, I mean, I get up earlier, but I'd start cooking at probably 7:38 because the light is best in my living room where I shoot all my stuff. So I was, really just pounding out recipes and, learning how to even write a recipe, construct a recipe along the way. So, yeah, I mean, I think for me, I wanted to really do something that was personal, with the incorporation of my family and, my grandmother and my mom. And I wanted to do something that was really food focused. So, yeah, that's how we kind of landed there. Yeah.
Your family rings through so much in this book. I absolutely love all the photos you have of the family, and how much you talk about your mom and your grandma, and you dedicate it to them. Helen and Mary, shout out to them.
Yes.
How much is this book about their cooking legacy and documenting it as much as it is about yours?
Oh, so much, so much. I mean, I think, the sort of the seed of the cookbook came about when my grandmother's been gone 20 years. So, so for me, she was my first big loss in life as a young adult. So for me, this was a way to honor her. And, she was the matriarch of the family. There was my mom. There was her six kids, including my mom. Everybody had kids. It was a big family. And she was, my grandfather passed away when I was 2, so I didn't really know him. So she was the one. So we kept her apartment and, throughout the years, and some of her stuff was still there. And around this time, I found a recipe notebook, spiral bound with lines that none of my relatives knew about. My mom didn't know about this little notebook. It was about 20 years of recipes, all written either in cursive, that sort of very perfect cursive, or in Chinese characters. Each page was numbered, dated, and there was a note of who she got it from, and little notes on the sides like "this is good" or whatever. And it sort of took me on this journey because it was 20 years. It started in 1958. This spiral bound notebook. And it sort of took me on a journey and to kind of unearth these recipes. And some were very familiar. Some I had never really seen. She probably didn't make every single one. But I think that's kind of where the idea started. And then ended up being sort of a little column in Sever for a while. These recipes, that I would unearth them and
Cook them.
try to understand the context and knowing the years, of when she made them. So that was the start of everything, really. It's definitely something that's brought me and my mom closer and my family closer just because of all the research. So it's really so much about them, so much about family. I mean, I think that's why I called it family style, because it really all hinges on them and family. And then, I throw myself in there too, of course. So
Of course. In discovering all those recipes, which is an unbelievable trove to discover, some of them are fan favorites. Some of them are, as you said, lesser known. And you mentioned this term in the book called curb appeal, which I think can apply both to fashion and food, and especially the recipes you're selecting to put in a cookbook. Can you explain this term and how you used it to curate these recipes?
Oh, yeah, curb appeal. I did mention that, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of go back to the idea of you eat with your eyes, right? It relates also to fashion. You look at a great sweater online, it looks great. and you want to buy that sweater, and you have to, as much as that sweater has to fit and feel great, so too does that dish have to obviously taste good and be delicious. And so I think my whole sort of philosophy, part of it in the cookbook is, it doesn't take much. It can take very little effort just to make a dish look pretty. And that should just give you it should give you really that moment in the day, whether you've had a stressful day or a great day, that one moment, just to sort of relax and smile and appreciate it. I mean, life is crazy. The world is crazy. We should all, take a breath, take a moment, sprinkle that flaky sea salt, add a little flash of herbs, just a little joy in your day is, that's all for you, is achievable.
Yes. Speaking of achievable, I really love the photos in the book because it did feel that I could cook almost anything. I mean, it's gorgeous, but not intimidating, very aspirational. You talk about the timing and the lighting, and when you took those photos, what was your style direction for putting this book together, especially in the art direction?
So the photographs were shot by Linda Zhao. She's an amazing photographer. And then I had an amazing team, Sue Lee, who did the food styling, and Sarah Smart did the prop styling. But, I already had a website that probably had about 150, 200 recipes on it. I had kind of a very strong aesthetic that I already had on there. So I think going in, I definitely, especially as a design person, had a point of view to kind of what I wanted to look like. I think, I was looking at sort of, from the fashion side, I was looking at old, like, sort of Fabian Baron, Harper's Bazaar kind of moments, but trying to make it feel a little bit more user-friendly. I mean, I was looking at sort of just all my sort of favorite cookbooks. I mean, I have so many cookbooks.
Oh, yeah.
I have tons. So I was really just looking at different cookbooks and seeing, what felt beautiful, but also what felt accessible and easy. Really it's what, form over function. I got it. Or function first. So at first it had to be something that people could actually use, and then on top, you layer on top of that wanting to make it look really elegant and chic. I mean, I guess the subtitle, elegant everyday meal. So that's sort of how I wanted to sort of bring the design aspect to life.
It feels great. I don't want to leave without you chatting about the soundtrack to your dinner parties, which you admit leans heavily into an 80s playlist. But I'd love for you to drill down, give me some specifics on some of the bands or the songs, because a lot of them had a song in the 80s that you love to play. And obviously I know different meals, different music, but anything that's always in rotation.
Well, I mean, I think, I think what I do, the things I've listened to most, just bar none, are probably 80s music and Broadway. And I can't be blasting a chorus line during dinner. Well, I could, but I could. Yeah. So, I think I usually, when people come in, I start with some 80s music. It's never too loud, but like, I love new wave. So I love New Order, like Bizarre Love Triangle, Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys, kind of fun, synthy, dancey, kind of sexy music. But then when we sit down, I usually turn to like Hotel Cost or something that's, CDs. Again, this is, for those who don't know, it's a hotel in Paris that in the 90s and the aughts, they put out these CDs that were very vibey. And and they're great because they're sort of backgroundy, but still kind of give you a little loungy, fun vibe. Yeah, exactly. You feel kind of fabulous. So that's usually what happens when sitting down and eating starts. So, yeah.
I love it. Well, listen, congratulations. If people want to order the book or read any of your writings, where can they go? How can they see also where you're going to be on tour?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, petersom.com, where they can see all the tour information. They can also see a link to purchase wherever they want, and see tons of recipes and other great things.
Amazing. Big shout out to Nicole, Bell, and Chloe for setting this up. We have a song from the archives and then a live performance here on Snacky Tunes on HRN.
Everybody knows, shout it for a minute at least. Survey, survive. How we gonna stay alive? Mason's time. Keep the walls up for a while. You may fear protection might be a veneer or a souvenir. Say with your wrinkled eyes, hey, yeah. If it is the sun and we're the one selling guns, I can hear the mouth roar. The pocket protects the head. Seven times the level of crime winds to 45 skyscraper. By the pound, by the ounce, hustle out on the cross, bounces egos, steaming for the soul. The luggage is tagged and sails in the summer heat. The show is over. Heck band on growing in a strong, so that ladder make a big fat. Hold the teeth, reach, attached to the love is visceral. The only thing you miss above, kissable. The only thing untouchable,
This episode is brought to you by Plugra European-style butter, crafted for those who demand precision and exceptional results in the kitchen. With 82% butter fat and a slow churn process, Plugra gives you flakier crusts, fluffier cakes, and rich, melt-in-your-mouth pastries. Because great baking starts with great butter. Unlike standard American butters, which have only 80% butter fat, Plugra ensures the ideal moisture and fat balance so your recipes turn out just right every time. That's why professional chefs trust Plugra and home bakers love it. Plugra's slow churn process creates a smooth, creamy butter that gives dough a soft, pliable texture, making rolling, folding, and laminating effortless. Whether you're perfecting a buttery pie crust or layering a delicate croissant, Plugra helps you bake with confidence. Experience the difference for yourself. Find Plugra in stores near you or visit plugra.com. That's Plugra.com.
So Mahogany, welcome to Snacky Tunes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really great to have you. Really great to have you here. Why don't you give us a little background on how you two came to be?
Well, this iteration of the band is about 4 years on. I've actually been putting out records since 1997.
Really?
Yes, I first got onto John Peel, and ever since then we've been asked to make records and do performances and radio shows.
Holy shit, you met John Peel.
We did not meet him. We had him play our records sometimes at both speeds. He liked one particular song at 33 and 45.
Really?
So, yes, so my friends in England would tape the show and send it to me after he played the records.
Oh my God.
That's how we got started.
Tape the show and send me a cassette, my friend.
Yes, well, I started out in Michigan outside of Detroit. It's fairly empty there, and moved to New York in 99, so...
Oh shit! So you've been in New York. You've seen the changes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where did you first move?
Brooklyn. So I lived up in Greenpoint.
So you've seen some shit.
I've been all around. I managed 2 different recording studios here. One which was over at Morgan and Grattan, and the other one, the Civil Defense, is now in the Gowanus area.
Do you have any stories of when you first moved to Greenpoint that would make people who move to Greenpoint today cry and be like, "I have no idea it was ever that bad"?
Well, Bushwick was kind of more like that.
Yeah.
With lots of burned out cars and packs of dogs, so you would be better off on a bike.
Packs of dogs?
Packs of wild dogs, that kind of thing. Yeah, it was the Badlands, man. It was really, really interesting.
Where do the packs of wild dogs go now? Like, do they just get rid of them? Kill them?
Yeah. I don't know. You ever seen The Leftovers? They're not our dogs anymore.
It's like the
I haven't
Sochi
seen it
Olympics.
yet.
It's good. Watch the... Yeah.
So
Man.
then, how did this iteration come into place?
Well, I was working on a record with a very large group of people, and I kind of finished with that, and I actually was working for Christie's, the auction house, and
What were you doing for Christie's?
I was doing graphic design for a magazine that if you spend $1 million at Christie's, they'll send you the magazine. It's called Highlights.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And so then if you look at a photo, would you find the Monet where it was hidden?
Oh, no, I'm saying if you went to the...
That's a Highlights original.
Right. We're thinking of Highlights for Children, which
Yeah.
we did try to tell them, this is already a magazine, but
And they
That,
They're really into the idea.
everyone has read.
yes, like Boy's Life, yeah.
Hey, have you ever been to a dentist? It's in there.
Okay, well, we can talk about there. But anyway, so you were Highlights.
Right, I was there, and then I met Jacqueline through a mutual photographer friend because I was spending some time in Philadelphia, and I kind of go back and forth pretty much equally. We both do, really. We have a name for it. We call it New Phil York Adelphia.
Interesting.
So
York.
it's part of our futuristic commuter existence.
The Sixth Borough. Remember that article?
They've been saying that. I found a poster from 1848, and they've been saying that ever since then. When they first built the railroad, lest we become the 6th borough.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's been something that's been perennially on people's minds.
Well, we're from right outside Philadelphia.
Oh, right on. Cool.
Yeah.
Have you been to the Dolphin yet?
Oh, yes.
So good.
It's fantastic.
It's a fantasy of a club.
We've got
of a
some pictures
dad
of her getting down on Instagram, so you can check those out.
which is Mahogany_band.
Mahogany_band.
So
How did you get in the mix? When did you start doing music?
With Andrew, actually. I was a ballerina growing up, and I had no real musical experience until I met Andrew through this photographer, and he kind of showed me the ropes and was like, let's do this, and threw me right in front of a 12-string guitar, and kind of has been my mentor.
Fuck you and your 6 string.
Yeah.
We're going straight to 12.
There's only 2 people in the band. We need all the strings we can get.
Yeah. And
and how was that like going from no musical background, obviously having some sense of rhythm from being a ballerina, but like no actual. How long did it take for you to be like, yeah, I'm not just like kind of playing the same thing from memory over and over again?
Right. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing with dance, muscle memory, but it took a few years, and Andrew's a really tough teacher, which is great and totally beneficial. But, I mean, here we are 4 years later since we met, and this is where we're at.
What is one of your, like no-hold-barred teaching, like, rules or methods?
Plug the guitar in. Like, don't sit in bed, like, in your panties, playing the guitar with no amplifier. So that's kind of like the rule at the home.
I mean, I feel like that's where I got lost. I was just, like, in bed, playing in my panties. And
it's just fun.
Yeah. Would you, like, tape the guitar to her hands and be like, I'll untape it when you get the song right?
No, we just started out with really, really simple things to play that were already kind of part of the songs. Because there's, like, plenty of things that... I mean, most of the music is kind of like a lot of repeated motifs that get sort of cycled through, like Steve Reich or Philip Glass or something like that. You know, I grew up with those composers. Right. I grew up as a cellist, so I took in my conservatory freshman year to finally realize I wanted to look at other instruments and music production. Most of the music I've done is actually, from a production standpoint, has been for other bands.
All right, well, let's hear a song. Let's hear some of this. All right. What are you going to play for us?
This is actually from our newest record, which will be coming out in the fall, and we're doing a tour. We'll be in New York, Boston, LA, a lot of other places.
Can we come to the show?
So this is called Keystone Sonata.
Oh, man.
That was great.
Dude, that's awesome. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the people at home can hear how much you were smiling during that song. I feel like it gives that extra oomph.
It's emancipation,
It's great, man. That's real like get up and go Sunday sunrise music.
Jubilation. We did a version of this as a video that you can find on South by Southwest, their YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
We did that a couple years ago, and we've been working on this song for a while now, just adding synthesizer, adding guitars, and a bunch of stuff. So
it's pretty layered.
And it is sort of about the sort of Philly pride type thing.
I would like to see that with a full orchestra. I'm just saying. I feel like that song.
Yeah, totally. We'll when we get the budgeting, we'll.
Yeah. Well, the money you're saving on not eating gluten alone that's halfway there.
No, what you should do is you should palm highlights and then sell them for $500,000. Yeah.
Well,
Let's do it.
Well, that's the other thing is that we have thought about maybe we could see what you guys think of this idea of a book caravan, because I also do book design for Rizzoli. So I've done 3 different books with Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth. If you look up Mixtape, The Art of Cassette Culture, this is a book that I brought together with a group of my friends, and then we pitched it to the publisher, and they said, it's great, but we want to get Thurston, we get somebody famous on it or whatever, so we got Thurston on it. And we ended up doing a few other books, Grunge, which is the photography of Michael Levine, and Punk House, Interiors in Anarchy, which is it's kind of an interesting interior decorated book, somewhat food related.
Is it like modern punk houses?
It's squats from across. Yeah. Yes, Abby Banks is the girl who did all of the photographs. She's brilliant.
Man, you guys are just creative forces, putting it out across all mediums.
That's the point. I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to do in this McLuhan-esque age? Is just hit all fronts.
Go for it.
Absolutely.
Full spectrum dominance.
I mean, that's one of the great things about working across all mediums. I know that Greg and I work in we did TV, we did radio, we do events, things like that, and just at the end of the day, it's just about the creative process and putting out something.
Yes.
And it doesn't really matter being actually being pigeonholed into one sort of going oh, I thought you just did music. That's done. That's over.
Yeah. I mean, I think that especially after the 80s, it's kind of impossible to not have a visual for your music. And I mean, it used to matter not what even people looked like. Now it's actually pretty critical.
And how would you describe the visuals for your music?
Well, we do a lot of filming where we're just, I mean, if you're familiar with, you're familiar with Philadelphia, we'll just go deep into the north where everything's falling apart and do some frontiering, as we'll call it. Just the urban landscape is really interesting. So a small HD rig and just take that out. And then we also do a lot of animation at home.
Really?
So, yeah.
What type of animation?
Mostly just with color and markers.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Just
like stop motion stuff?
Yeah, but abstract. So.
And then we were looking at your website. Can you talk about the ballet performance you did in the subway?
Sure. I've been working with this Instagram follower, cat_in_NYC, and she's got hundreds of thousands of
Cat
followers.
NYC.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
She's awesome.
She's amazing.
Russian woman, super great.
I met her a few months
Really?
ago.
Okay.
We did this Insta meetup, and she's just I was like, oh my god,
she's super cool.
She's super cool.
She's an amazing
we've been working together on these shoots, and basically I work in Lower Manhattan as a separate thing from the music, and we meet up on my lunch break, go down under the ground for an hour, take photos, and I put on some ballet stuff, and one of the shots ended up in the Huffington Post recently.
It's amazing. Is it like a Superwoman change where you the leotards underneath and you just bust out the phone?
Yeah, kind of. To save time, I've been wearing a leotard underneath the work clothes, but my boss did come up to me and was like, I saw you on the popular page. I'm like, oh
wow.
shit. I'm like,
It's during lunch. It's during lunch.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, it's my lunch hour.
Yeah.
Wow, I saw you on the popular page. Man.
It's a song lyric.
And so that's great though. That's so much fun. And are you dancing in the subway? Or are you just doing poses?
We're going back and forth. I mean, it depends. Some of the shots are in Soho, somewhere we had more room and the street was a different surface. Then we could do more dancing shots and turning and stuff. But most of our videos, the two videos Andrew and I have done together, we've done some choreography and
that's all. She's been humble. Dancing? My dancing, since I was a kid, I was in the pit orchestra because I knew right where I should be. But I would just like to say that, I mean, she's just a genius, really. I mean, there's a lot that's behind it. She's being very humble. So what happened on screen there?
Oh, sorry, someone's got eye bleeding. But wait,
We have an eye injury.
Quick
Eye
question.
bleeder.
Oh my God.
Are you as hard as a teacher on him about dancing as he was about teaching?
I've been
you?
trying
Yes.
to get Andrew to come to a ballet
Andrew,
class.
don't
You won't.
dance around in your bed in your panties.
I know.
Yeah.
Get up.
have to get up and plug in.
Put your leotard on.
True.
Put your
Yes.
shoes on.
It's comfortable.
It's comfortable.
I mean,
why don't-
do we have dreams of a Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers type thing? We're working on it.
Well, Ginger Rogers had to do everything Fred Astaire, but backwards, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right, so-
And in heels.
And in heels.
Why don't we get another song?
Yeah.
All right.
What are you gonna play for us?
This next song is called Commutator, and it's the second song off of our upcoming record.
Awesome. Okay, here we go. Mahogany Live with Snacky Tunes.
All right.
All steel bends unbroken, hollow shell that became my wishing well. My own little foxhole, a bunker for a lost soul, really in the season of control. A messenger to the comrades who were there every night and day. Well, they will knock out shit towers, flood you into darkness. Oh, they will knock out your towers, flood you into darkness. But the commutator runs, all the commutator runs. It feeds all the children, feeds all the children, it silences all the guns. A measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, and a measure for the fallen. A measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, and a measure for the fallen. A measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, and a measure for the fallen. A measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, a measure for the lost, and a measure for the fallen.
Well, I think the entire country of Germany should thank Mahogany for sending out those posy vibes.
Ja, so sehr ausgezeichnet. Ganz toll.
Goal.
Spreche ein bisschen.
Goal. Holy shit.
Ein mehr.
So, how do you guys inspire each other in the creative process? Because you guys are obviously both creative in your own factions, but is the like sum greater than the parts when you two get together?
1 + 1 = 3 or more.
Yeah, seriously. But
That's actually a title of our song, a song of ours. But
I mean, seriously, like, you guys are really. It's intimidating in a way because you're really like sort of covering every, it's graphic design, books, dance, music. It's just there's not a lot that other people can really bring to the table. So when you guys get together, is it just like this like ball of inspirato?
Well, we did some research, and the word that we found was charrette.
Yes.
Describes sort of a workshop attitude towards needs-based, getting things done in the moment, like sort of. So we don't I don't know that there's a significantly consistent process. It's more or less like we know we have a couple hours. What do we got to do?
Charrette?
Charrette. Charrette.
What, English?
I guess it used to be French,
Used
but
to
it
be
was
French.
anglicized. More meaning an architectural sort of get down.
How did you find this word?
I forget.
Because it's related to students who would cram to create models for architecture finals. That's where this context I saw it in. So, yeah,
it's a good word.
Thanks.
So they're not really, I guess, writing sessions, they're like creative sessions?
I mean, it's just sort of like this. The songs, for example, in some cases they write themselves. Like Keystone, there's a word in that, vicissitudes, which means regular changes.
Okay.
Right. I had no idea what the word meant, but I apparently had heard it at some point previous, and it came out in the lyrics when I was writing one day. So I had to go look it up in the dictionary after that.
Before
So it's sort of needs based. Like if you just see what's going on, and then we just have to jump in.
And sometimes you need a dance part, sometimes you need a guitar solo.
Yeah,
Exactly.
pretty much. Yeah.
But you have to be dressed for both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and
Well, you could
not
be in your
just- not
panties.
just in
Actually,
your-
you have to be plugged in.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll put it this way: when I
in
hear
as many ways as
the panty session, I know it's going to be like B-sides and like.
I'm loving this.
So wait,
idea.
so the new album you keep talking
New
about?
EP.
I know.
New EP.
It's crazy what's
hit
happened
us.
to that record.
Well, go on.
Well, I basically have been writing it since 2006, and the last one came out. Then we went on tour with Block Party the next year, and then went down to Lima, Peru, a bunch, which has if you want food,
ceviche.
Lima and its sushi fusion is a completely different universe. But we went down there a bunch, and we've just been playing shows ever since, really, and trying to put the record together. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not like a careerist person, so I'm not going to like rush to put something out that isn't what I think should be.
By the way, 2006 Block Party. I mean, talk about touring a band at the top of their. That must have been awesome.
They're fantastic.
They're great. They're awesome.
They're really nice to have us along. I mean, playing, the Carling circuit was, that's probably the biggest crowds we've ever had. 5,000 people throwing glow sticks at us.
Of course.
And
Right.
in Blackpool was, if you've done your research, the Stones started a riot there, Velvet Underground, everybody. So when they threw the glow sticks at us, I was very
You
pleased.
felt like you had made our
Made our impact. Yeah. Well, that's actually the home of one of my favorite bands. It's a Factory Records band called Section 25 that Ian Curtis produced, actually. So, okay. Yeah, I love those guys.
So EP comes out next week?
It's coming out. Well, we have a tour going around it. The EP will probably be out, the 12th? Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah.
And where's the tour is hitting all over?
Yeah,
It kicks off in Philadelphia, actually.
Where in Philadelphia?
At the World Cafe Live.
That's on the 12th, yeah.
Yes.
Amazing.
And
Shout out
then-
to World XPN, right?
Oh, right
Yeah,
on. Yeah, totally.
totally.
Love them.
And then where are you playing in New York?
We'll be in Brooklyn at Glasslands Gallery.
What's that?
And that's with Psychic Twin.
Yep.
On 13th?
Yep.
Can we come?
Yep.
Yeah,
and
we'll
then
put you on
we'll
the
be
list.
in Boston, and we've got a show in LA at the Echo for Part-Time Punks.
Yep.
We'll
Oh,
do
cool.
another radio show out there with them.
Yeah.
And shout out to Glasslands. I love Rami.
Yeah,
Like-
Rami's awesome. He's so sweet.
I have to
Rami
say-
is like one of the nicest, best.
I feel
Awesome
like you can
dudes
probably
there.
speak to this since you've been here
Yeah.
in Brooklyn for so long, even though they didn't start till 4 or 5 years ago. They're sort of one of the last true, just like supporters of the arts and music and things like that.
With
Where
Glasslands?
yeah.
Oh, this band actually opened that venue.
Oh
Mahogany,
really?
Yeah.
In 200006 or 7 with the Sentimentalist magazine.
So you know the original girls.
Yeah, we were there
The
quite a bit.
stage.
But every time we would play, we would blow out the power.
So I have.
Well, they've done
That's
an
our
amazing
fault.
job.
No, it's fantastic.
Like,
now
the
the
light
sound
system-
is incredible.
I have the bear head that used to be in there.
Hanks in his
It's in
apartment.
my apartment.
You have that?
Yeah.
That's not that.
No. I harassed.
That's the
I
boar's
harassed
head.
Brooke
That's the board.
for it, like, because they changed out the venue like every 2 months.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was like, cool. When you take that down 2 months, can I have it? But that was like the last iteration they had done, and I then harassed her every month for like 4 years. And then she called me one night. She's like, "We're selling it to Top Gun." the whole venue.
No.
If you
Right.
come down
Okay.
now with $400 in cash, it's yours. But you have 2 hours to make a
like a
decision.
Craigslist deal.
They still
I hope
have
we get dinner out of this.
they still have the weird like fur one that's behind the bar.
So why don't you give people how they can find you?
Man.
Instagram, Twitter, website, everything. Before we get into this last song.
Sure. On Facebook, we're at facebook.com/Mahogany International. On Twitter, we're Mahogany_INTL. Instagram, Mahogany_ban. And our website, where you can find all our news and our calendars on there. And you can subscribe to our newsletter. That's mahogany.nu.
Awesome. And when are the Mahogany practice panties coming out? I'm sorry, is that
Those will be with the tour we're going to do, Silkscreen.
okay? Cool.
Yeah, we'll be selling them on the site as well.
Okay, awesome. And they're just gonna say, "Get up out of
Get
bed."
up out of bed and practice.
Yeah.
Or they'll say plug it in. Is what
Plug it
they'll
in.
say.
Yeah. Quarter-inch
Okay.
cable.
Okay.
And in your spare time, you write jokes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Punch ups for Hollywood. Well, thank you to everyone. I think we're off again next week, and then we're back on the final run, knock on wood, to episode 200. If you are in town this Tuesday, we are doing our next barbecue blowout. Just go to BBQ Blowout
July 2014.
July 2015.eventbrite.com. 2014. Leia Cohen is going to be on the grills. Ducky is going to be on the decks. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Rain or shine.
Chris, congratulations again on everything.
Thank you for having me.
And we got one more song. What do we got?
Go Germany.
This is called White Rooms.
Oh yeah, and congratulations to Germany and to all of the friends we met in Berlin. This one goes out to Bergheim, I think. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Jackie's got me feeling waves of stars, waves of fire. With my heart rushing in my ears, salvation in her eyes, melt away the tears, glowing light and love, sighing glowing. Temptation in her lips, we take a few more sips, no more panting, no more sorrow. Jackie starts slow, taking me higher. The melancholy rain is keeping pulsing. The cannons and the clouds and the trains are bending. Jackie, baby, whoa, it ain't no sin. This your lover, taking me in. Don't tell nobody, it's just you and me undercover. Oh, Jackie's kisses, 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 will always be so much to me. 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 Jackie left a little love, speaking desire. We cannot just begin. I miss you very much. To cry together every day, we have to stay in touch. And Jackie, baby, take my hand, smooth your tresses. Tears are falling on stocking tops, and you each sold summer dresses. Oh, Jackie's kisses, Jackie's kisses, Jackie's kisses, Jackie's kisses. Oh, Jackie's kisses, Jackie's kisses, Jackie's kisses, Jackie's kisses. Will always be so much to me, 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 will always be so much to me. Will always be so much to me. Will always be so much to me.
We talk about food, we talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, snacky tunes.
Snacky Tunes is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.